Hey everyone, Sean's Trains here. We're going to take a fun look at a new locomotive I just picked up. I actually bought this while I was on the Amtrak Superliner heading south to hang out with some friends last weekend for a holiday party. I picked this up at Lombard Hobbies on a great deal that they had. I couldn't pass it up, so let's get into it. Hey everyone, welcome back to Sean's Trains. Today we're going to take a look at this brand new Rapido C30-7. So something that I don't talk a whole lot about is Santa Fe, because I've kind of moved past that and I'm kind of getting back to it because I have always loved Santa Fe. When I was a kid, that was the railroad I modeled, was Santa Fe passenger service and their high-speed freight for their intermodal and containers. Piggyback service and whatnot. So I picked this up, got it at Lombard Hobby, as you can tell, and I was quite surprised when I saw more than fruit snacks in this thing. Something tells me my dentist would not appreciate it if I started chomping on this ruler. But this is pretty cool. It's got regular standard 12 inches here, and on the back side it's got HO and N scale, which is pretty cool. So that's pretty nifty. I'm going to keep that handy. That'll go in the drawer here. I got another one of these guys. These are super nice. I actually keep one in my wallet most of the time if I can remember not to leave it in there. I got one from Otter Valley a number of years ago when I got my LRC cars. And it's super handy. It's super robust. I mean, you got to work to bend it a little bit. But very handy to have on more than one occasion. So I'm really excited to have another one of these in my arsenal. And of course, we can't forget the fruit snacks. You get these every time you order something from Lombard Hobbies. I don't know if they have stock in Welch's or not. I should hope so by now. So anyways, always a delicious little treat to have. I'll have that later tonight after dinner. So here we have the Rapido Trains C30-7 General Electric U-Boat. Santa Fe was very popular for the U-boats. A lot of railroads had them, but I feel like Santa Fe did them a little bit better. They had the U-30CG, or U-23CG. Anyway, they had all kinds of U-boats. And if I'm correct, I believe they even used some in passenger service before the FP45s came along. I could have that a little incorrect because it's been probably 20 years since I started playing with Milwaukee Road. So we've got Loksound. This has got Mo Power, so it's got the Keep Alive. For those of you who may watch Donut Media, you know what Mo Power Baby is. But so this is just the as delivered 1978 plus. It should have a nice working beacon, some beautiful sounds. I'm also excited to see what the accessory sounds are. So without any further ado, let's get this thing unpacked. So as per usual, we've got a beautiful service manual. They always did a really good job with their their manuals for these locomotives. You've got all your information in here. This is probably going to be pretty typical across the board for other locomotives to this one as far as operating it. There's some beautiful photos in here. This is the only one I purchased. I don't have a lot of extra money, so I'm trying to kind of be careful of what I purchase now. So I really made sure that I wanted this before I bought it, because this is not something I plan on selling. So, of course, you've got all your typical stuff here. I'll be interested to see who's got the ditch lights on these, if anyone. This is probably just a generic handbook for their sound locomotives. I will be setting this up to run with the proto throttle, as seen here. But I'm also going to program this to run with all my other Loksound locomotives. So my -8, my CN-8, my SD4-2s from Milwaukee Road, and the like. Those will all be those are all speed matched and programmed to run together. So I can mix and match anything with the Loksound decoder. This will be the same. So if you read through this, there's usually a good amount of humor in here. A nice shot of some CSX units and their gray, blue, and yellow scheme. I forget if that's YN3 or what that is, but it is a nice scheme. So there's that. Exploded view parts diagram with the late Adirondack trucks and with the early Rockwell trucks. Of course, you gotta have stickers. I love this. I love this. Rapido always has something fun in their boxes to go with the locomotive, because you know when you buy a train, you gotta get swag with it. It's always handy. Man, is that beautiful! Doesn't that just look nice? So we're gonna take this out and have a look-see. Alright, the first thing I want to point out here is we have a minor issue. So you can see here the step, I finally found out where it went. It goes over here, the last step would be. And it's broken off, which happens. Thankfully that's the only piece that broke off, and everything else seems to be in good condition so far, but we'll see more as we go around. But we've got the beautiful detail up front, very crisp numbers, beautiful attention to detail. Rapido does an amazing job with their locomotives. I really do have to hand it to them. I will be putting a long shank semi-skilled coupler in the front and a standard shank semi-skilled coupler on the back, because I am not a fan of the Rapido couplers. I feel like they're more prone to uncoupling on curves, and because I do switching on small layouts, that's pretty much unavoidable. So we'll go around and take some different looks at this beautiful locomotive. One of the things I want to point out is some of the prototype features that they put on here, as well as the distinct horns. You can see there's a little bit different from some of the horns you might see on some other models, as far as the shape of the trumpet, I guess. And it looks like this one might have some paint chip on it, right here. Again, this stuff happens in shipping. If I can come to terms that with the fact that this is going to happen and it's unavoidable, you can too. It's not fun, it's not great, but it happens. You can take some yellow paint, you can touch it up with the weathering, which is probably what's going to happen for me. I'll get this thing weathered up real good, and you'll never notice any of these defects ever happen. But you can see where there would be room for a nose-mounted headlight or Mars light here, like you might see on Southern Pacific. You've got your class lights, which I believe work on this. You've got very nicely detailed number boards. I'm not sure how Rapido makes these exactly, but they're very nicely done. You don't see the bezel or the plastic that's shifted around or doesn't quite fit right. It fits perfect. I'm really happy with it. You can also see the outline of the door and the windows very nicely. You can see the wipers are just perfect on this. I noticed that the handrails are slightly bent, and that's not a big issue because it's pretty common on models. And if I'm not mistaken, these are actually metal. These are wire. This might be plastic, but the horizontal piece is actually metal wire. So you're able to reshape that as needed. One of my favorite things to see on locomotives is the truck chains. So you can see on here, this is an actual metal chain that actually hangs loose, so it'll actually bounce around and move, whereas some models like Atlas, on their on some of their Dash 8s, they have metal chains as well, but on some models, you'll actually see that they have plastic chains that are cast in or well molded, but there's nothing quite like having a real chain. And I give props to those who assemble these models, because when I had my Atlas H660s, and I had to put the chains on, they weren't terrible, but with these giant hands I have, that wasn't anything I'd like to do again. And you can see, of course, you've got the nice cab shades, you've got your mirror over here, very crisp lettering all the way around, and you've got either your wheel speed sensors or different equipment hooked up here with these bright red hoses. Very nicely done. Very standard rear end of a GE U-boat here. Nothing special to see. No pilot, no plows. Nothing special going on. You don't even get number boards back here. It's just painted on. You've got the warning sign on the door here. You've got your beautifully painted hand-applied details for the grab irons. And one thing I will point out is that these are all evenly applied. Sometimes you get some that are poking out on one side, or some that are not as well installed as others. And I gotta say, these are pretty well done. You can also see here, over here, that where the class lights would be, those are all plated over or covered. And I think this is, well, that's just part of the cast. So let's take a look at the top real quick. So there isn't a whole lot of detail on the roof of these locomotives like there is the modern GEs and EMDs with all the labels. You've got very interesting, sometimes cooling fans, dynamic brake fans, all kinds of interesting stuff. But on these U-boats, they're pretty utilitarian. There's not a whole lot going on. So you've got your exhaust, and what I was looking at earlier is this little shiny spot right there. And I believe that is just a casting detail from the plastic injection molding process. So you've got your sand filler here, you've got your radiator fan vents here, and just some beautiful all-around detail. One thing I want to point out real quick is it's really hard to show here, but there's a nice wall right here where the depth of the side of the locomotive changes, and it's very nicely done. Whereas on, I believe, the U30C, it's pretty much smooth all the way down, and this has got a nice little lip here. Something else I'll point out is inside the exhaust stack here, you can see the vanes for that. So there isn't a whole lot of detail to be had on top of this locomotive, but what there is very nicely done. So you can see here there's a little bit of a warp in the metal grating here. See, yeah, I can push that down. So if that were to come off, it'd be easy enough to glue. This locomotive was out in the freezing cold overnight, so I'm sure there's some adjustment going on. But overall, you can see some of the safety stickers and lettering around the locomotive in different spots back here underneath the radiator. Of course, down here you've got your diesel fuel gauge. You've got different, looks like a safety valve of some sort here. You've got your air tanks, just beautiful, beautiful detail all the way around. And then moving up front, you've got your beacon. Again, you've got your horn here. And take a closer look at that a little bit again. So yeah, you can definitely see where there's some paint missing over here, but you can tell that this is a metal part. You can see this is actually bent a little bit. If I turn this a little bit more, the horn's actually been bent. So this got hit somewhere. Not likely in the box. But I'm going to leave it. Who knows what would have happened in the prototype. I'm sure stuff falls, hits it, whatever. But I'm not going to make a big deal about it. And of course, if we go to the other side now, you can see more of the truck details with these hoses coming from there. You've got more detail on the side of the tank on this side, and then 3 more of those lines going from the trucks. So overall, I think this is a very beautiful locomotive. I'm going to get that step glued on here, and then we're going to go run it a little bit and see how it does. Alright, so I went through and did some programming so that this will work a little bit better with my proto throttle. I have very specific things that I changed. In fact, you can see the sheet right here, at least the corner of it. I've made some modifications to get things to work in accordance with some of the standards and practices and procedures that I use. So we've got on the Lok programmer track here, and we're going to do a little testing, including the startup, and go through some of the fun sounds here that you can get from Rapido. So if we're careful, we go up into the upper functions and we can get some of the fun sounds in F21, 22, 23, and 24. So let's hear what they are.
Prochaine station, bonne aventure.
And I believe it just keeps playing. This would be kind of fun to replace the horn with. But needless to say, what Rapido does with this stuff is pretty fun. So that's F22. Here's F23.
And I pity the fool that tries to get in my way. Once I make up my mind, nothing and nobody gonna stop me.
We are the Lord. You will be assimilated.
resistance is futile.
Alright, that's pretty cool. I'm a bit of a Trek nerd, so I can appreciate that. And Rapido did a pretty good job with this. So as you can see, I fixed the pilot. Maybe you can't see. I fixed the pilot here. I glued it on. It's not perfect, and there's a little bit of brass showing, but with a little weathering, you'll never even notice that. So big takeaways. So far, I haven't operated this. That'll be a different video. This is just the initial unboxing and review. I really like the beacon. The beacon actually plays out very nicely. The lighting is very good. The sound quality, I feel like, is excellent right now. I'm going to turn the volume down a little bit, just a hair. And, I mean, we had the step. We've got the horn. Those are the two major issues from unboxing that I noticed. Everything else seemed to be in pretty good shape so far. I'm really happy with it. So I'm going to take a break for a little bit. It's December 24th as of this moment, and I worked 15 hours today, so I'm a little tired. So Merry Christmas to everybody, and if I don't see you before then, have a Happy New Year. And watch for more videos on this on Sean's Trains on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Thanks for joining in, and we'll see you in the next video. Happy railroading.